I gotta say, with my hair like this, it makes me look like some sort of hedge mage or something strange. My hair's a little wet. Today was a little wet. The last few days have been a little wet. I've been out of power, so awesome. I've managed to post some little snippets of things from my phone just to keep to my 30 days of posting, but yeah, no power sucked. I was out of power for a couple of days. It was a pretty bad line of storms, and while I was at work, actually, the place across the street from where I work, which is a car dealership, had the roof of the building torn off. So that gives you an idea of how bad this storm was. Anyway, I've got power back, so I'm here. I'm going to address the issue that I mentioned in a previous episode that I would like to talk about. The PDFs that are available on RPG Now and Drive-Thru RPG. Yeah. They have, among other things, the D&D PDFs, the classic D&D PDFs, which, from my standpoint, is an awesome thing. I love, getting a hold of some of those old books and going back and rereading them and seeing what I liked about them. Sometimes it's painful, because sometimes they're not as good as I remember. Let's be honest. But sometimes they are. Sometimes they're even more cool than I remember them being. A friend of mine and former co-worker, a guy named Greg Roth, was complaining he was addicted to buying the old Ravenloft and Known World PDFs off there. And to which my response was, this doesn't sound like a problem, I'm right there with you. I have mentioned the Known World stuff, the Gazetteers. These were the campaign setting that was created for the basic D&D set. The basic expert, immortal, and there was one other. I can't remember what the other one was. Anyways, the ones that were just D&D as opposed to advanced D&D, they had a campaign setting that was introduced in their first few adventures. Isle of Dread, the classic Isle of Dread, that happens in the Known World. It's also referred to as Mystara, for those who are interested in the lore. And it's weird because somewhere along the way, when they started putting together the Gazetteers, it's almost like somebody at TSR at the time kind of went, you know what, whatever guys, just do whatever you want. We're concentrating more on advanced D&D right now, so if you want to do stuff with that, yeah, whatever. So those introduced not only a setting, but the some extra rules here and there as well. And it was a really cool bit. I have a strong affection for that setting because I played in a campaign in it when I was in high school. But a friend of mine was running a campaign in it, and he added extra bits for running his own military campaign. He was kind of a military buff. But it's an interesting setting. I liked the Gazetteers' way of introducing the setting. There was a lot of in-character information to them in the way they were presented at times. Their histories were detailed. There was probably too much information overall, but I liked that each section of the world got its own book, and that little section of the world, that little book gave you all you needed to run an interesting campaign in that section of the world, including extra rules related to whatever's going on in that section of the world. So there was even one of the gazetteers has a portal to the Forgotten Realms in it. There's some advanced magic rules, and in one of the PDFs for Magocracy, where the place is run by mages. So there are some extra rules about doing advanced magic stuff there. Just a bunch of really interesting things. Alphacia and Hiatus, which I may be mispronouncing those, but I don't think I am, are the big empires, and they got their own box set. Not all of these are up on RPG now, or Drive-Thru RPG, but a lot of them are. Like 6 or 7 of them. I recommend it to people who want to see sort of the old school campaign world and how they were, put together. I like it, and I've been collecting all of the PDFs of it. I'd like to collect the physical books as well, but they're expensive. eBay, it's a problem. But no, I think that going back and looking at some of the classic D&D stuff is not a bad idea. And I know I have friends who find the old D&D rule sets to be deeply annoying, and I can understand why they find it deeply annoying. They're, the systems were not as, let's say, fully developed as they are now. But they were still fun. There was still a lot of fun to be had there. And I think one of the keys to dealing with older systems is to stop looking at it from a standpoint of, well, how can I improve this? Or looking at it from a standpoint of the world, we did this better later. Trying to compare it to other things will screw with your ability to just enjoy the game. Whereas if you, sit back and just say, okay, this is the game it is, and try and enjoy that game, I think you can enjoy it. But, viewed analytically, no, they're not as well developed as some of the later versions of D&D, but they're definitely worth playing. And I would play a basic D&D game these days, right now. I would take the old D&D rules, the old box sets, and some of those gazetteers, and I'd play in that game like that. I think that'd be fun. But I may be alone in that. So that's neither here nor there. But yeah, they tried to update Mystara to 2nd edition D&D, and as I recall, not much came of it. And it sort of fizzled off and went off and did its own thing. I want to get all of those PDFs and all those maps and such, and I might run a game. When 5th edition comes out, I might run a game set there, using the new rules. Because the setting information is still good, and what little rules stuff, is easily adaptable. So yeah, I could easily see running stuff there. It's very generic fantasy in a lot of ways. Each book discusses a culture, and invariably the cultures look like some of the iconic fantasy cultures from Western literature. There is, some Viking culture, there's some Roman culture, Greek culture, sort of Renaissance seafaring culture, generic England stand-in. They've got a lot of those. They do have some more Asian, Middle Eastern stuff mixed in there as well. And they had a whole thing called the Hollow World, which, not to be confused with the role-playing game, the Hollow World, or the just general silly idea of the hollow world, that Mystara was actually a hollow world, and there was stuff going on inside it as well, and all of those were tied together. So it's definitely worth checking out, and they're not expensive in the PDF form. I think they're like $5 a pop. $5 is nothing. I mean, well, it's not nothing, but spending $5, once in a while to pick up one of these, it's lots of good reading material. There's some decent art in it. Give it a shot. Check it out. I think you will enjoy it. I guess I'll ask: does anyone have any like old settings or that they like that nobody checks out anymore? Maybe one of the third-party things that came out during the 3.5 or third edition 3.5 era, and the open game license era. There were a bunch of settings that popped up during then, and I'm sure some of them just eventually dropped off. Were there any of those that you liked? Are you, like me, a Spelljammer fan, or a fan of Dark Sun, classic Dark Sun back in the day, or Ravenloft, or any of those sort of lost or old settings or rule sets related to D&D specifically? There are lots of other games as well that have some cool things that went off to the side, like Torg, or what was the game? Continuum, the one with the time travel mechanics where you could go into chronal debt, and there are a bunch of really cool games that just never took off or anything, but specifically around D&D, because this is sort of a nostalgia cast, I guess, on this one. Were there any D&D settings or rule sets or what have you that went away that you thought, okay, yeah, I still love that, and subscribe, like, share me with your friends, share me with your parents, your grandparents, random strangers. You could send random strangers links to my show if you want. I won't complain. Okay, I might, because that would be kind of rude, and I don't like to be rude. Not generally, anyway. I think tomorrow I may do a longer thing. I'm going to talk about Lady Saber and the Pirates of the Ineffable Ether. Yeah, I might do some talking about that. I get my Kickstarter rewards, so I may talk about that some tomorrow, and try and tie it into a game thing. I don't know. Anyway, I'm back. I'm coming up on a post for every day for 30 days. I'm coming up on it, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do for the meeting the goal. Maybe I'll set my head on fire. Anyway, night.